Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. It's not very often that I am not home for like a week plus, but it's been more than a week since I've been home and wanted to get down there today. So I was like, you know what? There are two movies that I saw in the last week that I need to talk about in full. I've only done my 1 minuters. We just talked about The Strangers Chapter 1, and in a year where horror is slapping like it's 2022, The Strangers Chapter 1 didn't get that memo. The movie is not very good. Really, the only redeeming quality it has is Madeline Petch, and she's so good that I'm like, maybe intrigued to look at the trailers for Chapter 2, but I think this franchise is in trouble because I don't think Chapter 1 is going to make anybody go see Chapter 2. If you want my full thoughts on The Strangers Chapter 1, you can get them right up there. But we're done talking about not good movies because there is a really good movie that came out this past week that I feel like nobody is talking about. And if you give it a go, especially if you're a fan of like 2000s comedies, you know, like those Judd Apatow joints, those Seth Rogen movies, you know, things where you got like a lot of banter back and forth, quotable lines, things like that. If you like that stuff, even if you're a guy, you are going to love this movie. What am I talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat? We are getting ready to dive in, spoiler free, into Babes. And the reason I tell you that even if you're a dude, you're gonna dig this comedy is because this was my Screen Unseen last week. Last Monday, you know me, I like to go check out Screen Unseen when it's rated R because there are far less rated R selections, which means I can narrow down to 2 or 3 movies that it might be. And if all 3 movies are things that I'm interested in, I'm going. Last week, not what I was thinking it was going to be. I genuinely thought we were going to get The Strangers Chapter 1, which I'm even more happy that I got Babes instead because I don't know if I would have gone to run out and see Babes in the theater on my own. Not because it's a movie about 2 friends that are girls and pregnancy and it's told from that perspective. No, I actually love Ilana Glazer. She's the thing that actually had me excited about Babes, but just my life has been so busy lately. It felt like something I'd probably catch on streaming and really enjoy. And being in the theater on a Screen Unseen night, you don't know what you're getting. So, and the theater was kind of crowded. Like about a third of it was full. A little bit more than I've seen the last few times I've done this. And there were a lot of guys in this movie theater. And let me tell you, everybody was laughing their ass off the whole time. Like, this is a movie for me. This gives me like 40-year-old virgin. This is kind of obvious, but knocked up vibes, right? Like, it's that type of comedy style where like you just have the jokes have you almost crying. They're so funny, but the emotional beats and the actual story are things that hit and get you to invest in the characters and what's going on. And then, like I said, just all around that is these jokes that just have you peeing your pants. You're laughing so much. And that's not shocking because Ilana Glazer, that's her brand of comedy to a T, and she is the writer on this script. And if you've ever seen Broad City, which used to come on after Workaholics, you would know Ilana Glazer, her brand of comedy hits with everybody. You know, like me and my friends, huge Workaholic fans. Broad City started coming out, and not everybody stayed, you know, to watch after Workaholics, but there were a couple of us that were like, another new comedy, half hour, let's give it a go. And we were like, dude, have you guys been watching this Broad City show? Like, I've never seen a female comedy that lands its jokes in ways where like a predominantly male audience could like the show. And that's what Glazer taps into here, man. Like her brand of comedy, even when you're getting into the really feminine elements of this. I mean, this is a movie that's dealing with pregnancy, right? So you can really get into some hardcore female stuff. Like every joke or thing that makes you laugh is like the type of thought that any human being, guy, girl, dog, cat, I don't care what you are, anybody is probably thinking things in that realm in the back of their head. And Glazer is my favorite thing about Glazer. She don't give a shit about that, man. She is upfront, she is blunt, and she just says the things that she has to say. And that brand of comedy, like I said, is something that can work for everybody. Like I have the IMDb page up right now, and you're seeing like a clip from the trailer where the doctor's going to put the needle in, you know, to get the amniotic fluid to like run tests and stuff, but the needle is like this big. Stuff like that is like why I am glad I'm a dude. But the way that Glazer reacts is funny because most people would probably react to that situation in that way. And there's just lots of moments throughout this movie that hit in those ways. And I think having a guy co-writing with Glazer and Josh Rabinowitz allows you to bounce ideas off and be accepting to deliver a joke or something in a different way because you're collectively going, are men and women going to laugh at these things, right? Like you look at something like Barbie, loved Barbie, phenomenal comedy, phenomenal drama, definitely a feminist movie, very good at what it's doing, but not for everyone. Babes, the comedy is for everyone. Every joke has things that both sexes can vibe with, relate to from own personal experiences, and laugh at. And that makes this movie brilliant, start to finish. And then just the concept of it is really, really smart. Like, you have two best friends, one who's just had their second kid, and the other who thinks it's impossible to get pregnant on your period ends up getting pregnant and is now the one who's not mature enough when you look at him to be a parent. So that journey, specifically for Glazer's character, who is, you know, the one who's become pregnant, is really interesting to watch her character grow. But the thing I love so much about the movie is that it never, ever leaves behind our number two, played by Michelle Buteau, who is such a good number two for Glazer. Like, the two of them on screen are so good together. They're phenomenal scene partners. They have these moments where it's like you're ribbing each other and it's like, oh, I called you a name, now we're gonna just do this back and forth with every different variation of that type of thing that you're calling a person. Like, those moments work so well. But the other thing that I love is that pregnancy, especially when you're at the different points, right? Like, just had a kid, already have a kid, and in the process of having a kid, you're gonna butt heads. And the way in which their relationship as friends function and doesn't function in the movie is the thing that makes this movie feel so genuine. And that's the other thing that I love here is I think Glazer and Rabinowitz have delivered a script that just feels so genuine. Like, everything in this movie feels tangible, feels real. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if some of the things that are in the script came from real life experiences from certain people. Like, it just feels so real. And a lot of that is because the relationship between Glazer and Buteau and their characters Eden and Dawn feels real. And it's not a movie where it's like these two are just best friends the whole time, and every time Glazer's struggling, Buteau's lifting her up, and if Buteau's struggling, Glazer's lifting her up. Nah, y'all have real life going on, and sometimes the shenanigans don't work for everybody when some people are more in real life. Like, I can vibe with a lot of things in this movie because I'm the friend who's not married, who doesn't have any kids. So I can totally see where Glazer is coming from. But I have friends who have families, and the stuff that Buteau is going through and the friction that occurs sometimes feels so natural because I've seen it, man. Like, it is stuff that people go through. But what I love is that it's one of those friendships where even when you're on the outs with each other, the love is so strong between the two people that you're always going to find a way through it. And watching these two navigate these two sides of having kids works on the dramatic level and tees up all of the jokes. Now, the other thing that we have going on in this movie, of course, is we do have a director, Pamela Adlon. I think Pamela Adlon does a great job here, man. Like, the way she sets this up, one, she makes this movie feel so New York, which I love to death because New York is a character. And New York is for sure a character in this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a sequence I don't think I would have ever seen happen to anybody in New York. But if the price total was like $500 and you were vibing, like, maybe. But nevertheless, like, putting you in scenarios and situations that are so true to New York that it is a character. And I love the way that Adlon tells the story through the guise of New Yorkers, but also like how she's able to bounce back and forth. Like, early on, I'd say Glazer and Buteau are almost 50-50. And then as you start to get into the second act, it is like 75-25 Glazer. And how you kind of make that, how you ride that ride, and how you pace everything out to be able to go in and out of the relationship but never lose it. I thought Adlon did a wonderful job like driving all of those things. And I love that, you've got an hour 44 runtime, so the movie's just over 90 minutes of content. And with the jokes, the pacing is perfect. Like when you're getting your dramatic beats to where you're getting your joke deliveries, it flows so wonderfully that it's just so easy to consume. And then I think everybody that's around Butoh and Glazer does wonderful things. First and foremost, Hassan Minhaj, who plays Butoh's husband Marty. He's great, man. Like I've said in the past, I dig Minhaj for several things that he does as a stand-up comedian and some of the things he's done in movies. Here, I think, is the most he's ever gotten to play with, and again, delivers a really genuine take on the husband in this situation. Right, like, there are times where, like, Glazer and Butoh's characters are so tight that like you almost feel like Marty is getting jealous, and the way Minhaj plays that is perfection. Because again, I've been on that side of things, maybe not the husband, but like being the best friend, seeing that there's someone else now in that position. I think everything he does is really natural and genuine, and he's one of these like I'm a good guy, which can get annoying, and there are elements of Marty that are annoying, but he lands things in a way where you're like, that's the kind, like, that's a real good guy, like he has moments where he breaks, he has moments where he just kind of lets everything out, but at the end of it he's like, but man, is it so worth it because I love you. And unlike what I was getting in The Strangers Chapter 1, where like the love fest between these two was too much, it was corny, it was cheesy, the love between Dawn and Marty is natural. And I just loved what Minhaj gave us there. Oliver Platt plays Bernie, Eden's dad, Ilana Glazer's character. He's not in the movie a ton. He's kind of a deadbeat, and he's also a bit of an agoraphobe. But there is like a moment where she like really needs someone to be there for her, and things are not perfect with Dawn, so she calls her dad, and you get one really wonderful stretch with Platt where he plays deadbeat dad to perfection. But it's one of those where like even though he's a deadbeat dad and he is aware that he's a deadbeat dad, the way that he plays it and the way that it's written, you understand why Eden would call him or have any relationship with him at all. And it's just one of the most wholesome, wonderful sequences, but also one that has like some low-key, really, really loud, laugh out loud, like funny moments. Always love Oliver Platt. Thought he did wonderful things here. Elena Uspenskaya. Try that one more time. Elena Uspenskaya, who plays Dragana. Basically, like as Dawn and Eden are kind of starting to butt heads a little bit, the idea of a doula gets thrown out there, and she plays Eden's doula, and Dragana is the perfect choice for Eden / Ilana Glazer. Like everything about the character, from the name to how she operates, you're like, yeah, I get why you chose this woman, and she's hysterical. Like same thing, just pointed moments for her, but when she drops in, man, I promise you're gonna be peeing your pants. And the other person who is going to get you to pee your pants in this movie, John Carroll Lynch. I love this dude. Anytime he pops up in anything, he's a wonderful character actor, and he plays Dr. Morris, who is Dawn's doctor that then becomes Eden's doctor, as she's kind of going through everything. And watching his relationship with the two of them is unique in and of itself. So when he's having to kind of interact with both of them separately or together, you're just getting really funny things. And there's a thing with his character that's going on that's hysterical, and how he owns that and leans into it is just so good. Like he is far and away for me the funniest person in this movie after Glazer and Butoh. And the other thing that you get here is you get the twins, Kenneth and Keith Lucas, playing Benny and Bobby. They are I don't know if they're doctors per se, but they're like something in that realm, and they have a really interesting connection to Dawn, Eden, and the dude that Eden gets impregnated by. And that sequence, like, they are so naturally funny in real life that anytime they pop up in anything in media, I tend to dig them, and they have a really, really nice sequence with Glazer that's just laugh out loud, super funny. But that's the thing here. Like, you assemble a really strong cast around these two women, and the material that Glazer and Rabinowitz come up with throughout the course of the movie is just so damn funny. And like I said, it's one of these things where you can lean into very, very female things, specifically when you're talking about pregnancy, but the delivery of the jokes about those things are things that land in a spot where, yeah, for sure, there are some times where the jokes are going to land harder for the women because, like, they've been through this stuff that us men have not. And again, thank God every day that I'm a dude, because I don't think I would have kids if that was the case. Just the long needle alone threw me out. But, like, it's one of those where it's like, yeah, it's probably going to hit for women a little bit harder, but the majority of the jokes work both ways. And that's one of the things that I always thought worked so well when you look at, like, an Apatow flick or something that Rogen's doing. Like, yes, there's a lot of male humor in there, but you're able to get stuff that typically works in a mixed audience. And what was cool for me, because at least on the engagement on my 1 minute short, which has 8 views, I dropped that like 5 minutes before I dropped If went for like 450. Algorithms and things are crazy, but that just tells me that, like, the general audience or general people vibe is not super strong for this movie. So I love that I can tell you that I saw this at a screen unseen where people didn't know what we were getting. So you had a lot of guys in the theater, you had a good mixture in the crowd, and everybody was laughing. And that's all I ever want in a comedy. And like I said, there's something that just Glazer has always nailed. And the script is sharp. It's funny, it's poignant, it's emotional at times, and all of it blends together really well. And unlike the Apatow movies, which are like 2+ hours long, you're looking at like just a little bit over 90 minutes. It's tight, it's quick, it's well delivered. It is just far and away one of the best comedies I've seen in the last 5 years. Easy, right? I don't feel like we get tons of comedies, tons of classic comedies. This is an immediate classic comedy for me, because this brought me back to a time where I was like, this is where comedy is the greatest. This is where we should live. And Glazer certainly comes from that generation of people. And you can tell that influence is there and that vibe is there. And that is wonderful, because it means that the movie is just downright funny. And I think this is a movie that can do really, really well on streaming. Like, you get a little bit of word of mouth, maybe someone in a friend group that's seen it. Oh man, you guys haven't seen it, you have, oh my god, watch this movie. Like, when this hits streaming, I'm gonna make all my friends watch this movie, and I think they're all gonna love it. So I'm gonna shut up, get the C Maniacs up. Like I said, I just think Glazer delivers a top-end comedy, start to finish, and she does it in a tight, concise way where it moves. The pacing is good. The way the story flows just works so well. The humor is so pointed. It hits for everybody, I think, at least, or for most people it should hit. And you're dealing with things that are very feminine, but the comedy is something that can work for both men and women. And I'm not saying that, like, all comedies do that, right? Like Barbie, very much that's for the women. There are definitely movies that are just for the dudes, but this happens to be one of those movies from a female perspective that I do think hits for everybody. Michelle Buteau, beautiful scene partner, great number 2, and at times she's almost an equal number 1 in this movie with Glazer. And just the two of them, their relationship, it all works so well. The idea of, like, pregnancy and another friend who just had a baby, building a family, all the things that make life crazy. You just check all the boxes in a movie like this, and everything lands where it's supposed to. So for me, I'm going 4 out of 5, man. Like, it's not a perfect comedy, and there are things that won't land for everybody, but I do genuinely think it is just a downright laugh out loud, funny ass movie. And if you miss the days of having laugh out loud classic comedies, especially if you love that, like, early 2000s run and like things like 40-Year-Old or Knocked Up, this movie should hit in big ways. So huge fan, lots of love for Babes. I was so glad that was what the screen unseen was last week, man, because like I said, I may have waited for this one to just stream. I'm glad I got to see it in an audience or in a theater with a mixed audience of, like, men and women and different ages, and everybody was having a good time. I genuinely hope y'all will go either see it or at least give it a watch when it hits streaming, because Babes is nice. Now I'm going to shut up for real and flip it over to you. What are you guys thinking? Have you seen Babes? Do you know about Babes? Is this a movie that you're intrigued by? If you haven't seen it, is this something you would go to the theater for? Or will you wait for streaming? And having heard the things I said, is this a movie you think you would watch, whether it's in the theater or at home? And if you have been out to see Babes, what'd you think? Did it smack across the start to finish? Was it laugh out loud funny for you? Did the dramatic things mesh with the comedy? Or did it not work for you? Anything you got, good, bad, indifferent on Babes, put it down below in the comment section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions. As I said at the end of the Strangers review, this week is Furiosa. Haven't seen any early access screenings that I've been able to get to, so it'll be a Thursday night movie for me. But if you want to be here over the weekend to see what I'm thinking, you'll get my 1-minute thoughts right out the theater. I'll probably see it a second time and then talk about it spoiler free. So if you want to be here for that coverage, you just dig the vibe, you want to show a little love and support, maybe you're intrigued at anything we might be putting up, well, hey, come join C-Maniac Nation. It's super easy. Just jump over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Hey, what's up, C-Maniac Nation? Winter Ken here, where we grow out our roots and our beard, letting you know that you can see some new C-Man videos right up here and right down here. And if you want all those videos and show that man a little love and support, come join C-Maniac Nation right over there, and the C-Man will catch you on the next one.